Welcome back. And so a news of the day video, and it's kind of a mixed bag. Which is kind of the way things have been, just in general, sports related, hockey related, Bengals fan related, that kind of thing. Johnny Boychuk has had to retire. So the eye injury that looked bad when it happened, yep, he's been told basically that his career's done. And so he will retire. 725 games played, 54 goals, 152 assists, 206 points. There had been rumors about Lou Lamoriello trying to move Boychuk's contract, and honestly, the eye was probably holding everything up. He played for Colorado, Boston, and the Islanders over his career, and I will remember him for his tremendous work in Boston, being upset when Boston lost him to the Islanders, and he was one of my favorites. So there will be a video on his career. He's going to end up in the THG Hall of Fame because he belongs there. Nice long career, played till he was 36. It is a shame it ends this way, though. Now, the other end of this, of course, is for Lou Lamoriello. He now has a situation where he has to replace a defenseman, or he can look at say, all right, so Dobson ends up in the top six, where we've already, Taves has moved on, so we've got room for something else to happen in their top six. But now we have the space to re-sign Barzal. And it is not a fun way to get the space to re-sign Barzal. And I would expect there will be some who will see this and go, well, they set this up so that they could re-sign Barzal, and it's blah, blah, blah. No, this, again, Johnny Boychuk, it's a shame, and he was due to make $6 million, or at the very least the cap hit was $6 million this year and next year. So all the best to him in retirement, and he made the right call. He absolutely made the right call. Now, on the other side of just, the news isn't great. Fred Sasakamoose passes away at age 86. He was one of the first Indigenous athletes to play in the National Hockey League. Last year at the Heritage game for the puck drop, he was there for the game between Calgary and Winnipeg, and he was very visible at these kinds of events, and he was big in the community as well. So it is a big loss, and 2020 has been a year of loss. For those who hadn't heard, Diego Maradona passed on this morning as well. He was 60 years of age, so it's just, it's 2020. Just keeps going. There is no way to segue from that into anything else. There just isn't. The Professional Hockey Women's Players Association today revealed that Toronto, they're going to be called Team Sonnet. So because they've paired up with Sonnet Insurance, which I'm pretty sure is just Canadian. So if you're on the American side of the border, you'll go, their team what? Sonnet, like the poem? So Team Sonnet, they revealed these jerseys. There's a 5-team tour that's launching next year. I'm not aware of an actual timeline yet. I know that's the plan. It looks like Toronto's team's going to be stacked in terms of well-known women's hockey players. And again, we still have two women's leagues. And I'm not sure how this is going to work. Now, technically, the PHWPA is a union who are looking to form something and to make a league that's going to work and to have the NHL's involvement. But it comes across that there's two women's leagues still. So, yeah, they've got to get that all. And this isn't the only news item on the board that's to do with women's hockey, as we try to figure all this out during a pandemic too. Philip Danault, the extension talks. Now, what's funny is that months ago they reported that they were close to an extension. Maybe they're going to work out an extension over the next little while. Apparently not. Apparently they're just at the starting point, which Danault's fine with. If he goes into the year without a contract, he's fine with that. And I would think that if you're Montreal, you want to hold on to him. And I know that Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are coming up, but Danault is still a useful forward. I do think he gets overrated by some, but I still think as a number 2 option as a center, that's ideally where he should be. Ideally, he's not the number 1 center. Ideally, he's number 2. And or he may end up being a number 3 because of the upcoming Kotkaniemi and Suzuki explosions offensively we're going to see. Especially Kotkaniemi's got all the offense, Suzuki's got the offense and the defensive side. I don't think he's got the scoring upside of Kotkaniemi, but it's still pretty strong. I'm not saying that as a diss to Suzuki. I just think that Suzuki's going to be a really, really good two-way forward. So yeah. Also, Montreal news, if you're following Cole Caulfield, you would know that he posted a hat trick versus Penn State for Wisconsin last night. So Caulfield's doing well. And I think that's going to play a role in what Bergevin decides to do for next season. And I think that is going to be related to things like, well, what do you give Danault? How much you are willing to offer him, knowing Caulfield's going to come in and likely push his way onto the roster next season. And he looks like he should be a pure sniper at the National Hockey League level. We'll see. We'll see if he ends up being a sniper or not, because until a guy plays in the NHL, you just don't know. But for Bergevin, he can at least play with the idea of maybe allowing there to be a spot on the roster that Caulfield will take up next season. Pierre LeBrun is reporting that Bettman and Fehr, who we need to talk to one another in order to have a season, they haven't talked since last Thursday. So that was when the blow-up happened over the deferral and all that. They're not under the gun yet. And I've been saying this. They're not under the gun. This is what drives me insane with the National Hockey League. And they didn't do this. They didn't do this during the summer. And I was so proud of them for not doing it during the summer. Now this is back. This tactic and I know people get mad at Bettman for this, but it works. If it's going to be a game of chicken, the owners will win. The owners have more money. They're going to win it. The players want to play. There's players on the ice now. Players are showing up to get ready for training camp. That's why we're starting to hear about positive testing, because players are showing up and they're getting on the ice and they're getting ready to play. So they want to play and they know that they need to. And the NHL knows they need a season too. So this week off just ticks me off just from a hockey fan perspective. It's like, all right, come on, no more saber rattling. Just sit down, figure it out, and get it done. It's one season, and it's an important season to your TV contract, to your continued expansion within the U.S. And not only that, but I keep doing all these videos on Seattle and what they might get in the expansion draft. How in the world do you figure out the expansion lists if we don't have a season? That's something that's entirely, completely possible. And it becomes a total mess for the 31 teams in the league. Not for Seattle. Seattle doesn't care. But for the 31 teams in the league, it could be a mess. As the NHL could say, here's brand new areas, or here's the brand new criteria. And it might expose players that the NHL teams are saying, well, wait, they wouldn't have qualified for exposure because of, and, name reasons here. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Because I think we're going to see a season, but we'll find out soon. And again, January 1st is the goal. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the middle of January. And I know the numbers are all trending in the wrong direction. Everything's all on fire, and yeah, it's still all crazy. But anyways, we'll see what they come up with. Matthew Steinberg, a prospect for the Colorado Avalanche playing in the NCAA. He's going to miss the remainder of the season with a broken fibula. He was a number 63 pick in 2019. So he'll be fine after that. That's the good news. It shouldn't cause any long-term effects, but this comes down to, a prospect developing, and it puts him behind the eight ball in terms of his overall development. So wishing the best to Steinberg, who played in the BCHL last year, and hopefully everything ends up okay for him. The NWHL, so the Women's Hockey League that is still in existence. The reason why the PHWPA is arguing that they need their own league and this whole thing's going on, they've announced they're going to play their entire season over a 2-week period where every team will play each other once in a round robin, and then you have playoffs coming out of that. And from January 23rd to February 5th, they're going to play in a bubble in Lake Placid, New York. A 2-week bubble, a 2-week season. Again, for a league that does have its struggles with making money, It'll be interesting to see how this goes, and whether it does generate interest, and whether or not it generates the kind of upswing in ratings and inflow of cash from somewhere. Because again, the women's players union got an influx of $1 million. I think it was $1 million they got from Secret. And so I mean they've had the sponsorship, and I'm wondering how the NWHL sponsorships are doing, because I haven't heard a whole lot about the NWHL. But again, it just, to me, it's just silly that we've got two different models, two different ideas going at the same time, two different leagues, whatever you want to call it, when we need to have a unified vision of things. And I mean, eventually the WHA and the NHL sat down, and the NHL, took in the WHA, even though they hated it, back during the height of the WHA, which, if we don't get a season, eventually we'll be doing videos and all that too. But yeah, we'll see how the bubble scenario goes for the NWHL, how things go for the PHWPA. What isn't on the board, of course, is that Team Canada had a couple of positive tests that came out yesterday, and there's quarantine and all these other things that happen as a result of that. I think it'll be okay, but again, these players have to be careful, because if this happens during a tournament, it could just undo the whole thing. So the World Junior Tournament is still on track to take place as it's supposed to, and we'll be reporting on that as we get clarification of who's going to be on which roster once they start whittling down the rosters, which will probably happen in a couple of weeks. But yeah, we'll see, and I'll be here to report on it when that happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.